Don't forget to check out the Bias Premier League show with myself, Robbie, and Ty, and
Peace.
Where's Yardy?
Oh, he's not a great loss, man. He's a waste of space.
Is that how you carrying on?
Oh, he can't see me. Yeah,
well, Yardy will be here, so make sure you check it out, and I want you to tell him that to his face.
Tell him what? I didn't say no. Yardy's my best friend.
Trossard, because Trossard's offering a lot all round. He's not only a goal threat, but he can link up play well. He can find the final ball. He's efficient in the final third all round.
What are you laughing at?
Because Lee's taking the piss out of Jordan.
Lee's just being a child. You know James by now. He's just being a child. You know, he's 74, but he's acting like a 17-year-old. He's just being a child. Just carry on. Ignore him. Don't give him attention.
What's up?
He's a prick. He's a prick.
This is what happens when you go put at midnight.
He's a prick. Exactly absolute prick.
I say one guy sneezing, one blowing his nose.
Welcome back to AFTV. Welcome to another live show. I'm here with Robbie. How you doing, Robbie?
Yeah, I'm good, man. Good.
Good to see you. Plenty to discuss today from the Kroenkes. Is it time to admit that they're doing a good job? Why? Well, the big news is that they are now co-chairing Arsenal. We'll explain what that means and go into that a little bit later. Eddie Nketiah still not pictured in the training photos as well, and likely to be a doubt for the game against Sporting. So we'll discuss his fitness and his return to the team. And of course, we've got to talk about Arsenal's potential tour in the summer. Where are you taking us, Robbie? Well,
I don't know where they're going.
There are rumours, and we will discuss that in a bit. But how are you, Robbie?
Yeah, good. Looking forward to the game tomorrow night. You know what I mean? Important game. You know, if we win that, get through to the next round, get into that draw on Friday, where, you know, if we do win that, we could be, you know, I mean, there's no more seeded rounds after that, isn't it? So
that could be
could
anyone.
get United.
Could be Juve, could be Roma, could be whoever.
Yeah. I fancy any of them.
Absolutely.
You know what I mean? I don't want to get United. I don't want to get United yet.
Yeah.
You know, you'd always want to play like another English club later on in the competition. But the others, you know, there's some good sides in there. But I think they'll be more fearful of us.
Yeah, very true.
Of them. A little bit maybe a Union, but you know, we're in Union teams. One of those two. You know?
Yeah, famous last words. Then we get them, and then it turns out they're brilliant. Right, let's go into the main story of the day. We've got the headline here that Stan and Josh Kroenke have become co-chairs, with Tim Lewis becoming executive vice chairman of Arsenal. Now, let's just remind everyone of the state of play a little bit here. The Kroenkes KSE, which stands for Kroenke Sports Entertainment. No, yeah, is that right? Anyway, KSE.
Right, yeah.
They were majority owners of Arsenal until 2018, when they became full owners of Arsenal. They purchased the rest of the club, and well, they have been, you know, the full owners. And since then, we've heard many quotes: judge us on when we became full owners, judge us and the work we're doing from that particular point. And well, what we've known before that was that we had many years with Arsene Wenger and different structures at Arsenal. Since 2018, Arsene Wenger left in that summer. We had Unai Emery for a year and a bit, and then Mikel Arteta came in around December 2019. A bit before that came Edu, people like Raul Sanllehi were at the club, but the club's gone through a lot of change. And being owner is different to being chairs or co-chair or chairman. They are now the co-chairs, and we'll go into that statement in a little bit and explain exactly what that means. In around, was it early 2021, the Super League situation happened, in which essentially the big six in England, in the Premier League, decided to form a new league, a breakaway league with other clubs around Europe, and it was met with, you know, protest about the Kroenkes' ownership, the decisions they were making, without the fans' consent or knowledge, you know, around the club and the future of the club. And since then, they promised to be more communicative with the fans. They promised that they were taking us in a direction they really believed. They stuck by Arteta during a very difficult period, and now we seem to be reaping the rewards of that loyalty towards Mikel Arteta, but also the investment they've put in this team and the structure they put in place really since, well, let's say since 2018, since it became full owners. That is the big picture of the last 5 years, Robbie. And I think with this news, no one's batting too many eyelids. But I don't think that would have been a case 2-3 years ago. I think there would have been a lot more discussion and uproar if this kind of headline had come out, 2-3 years ago.
No, 100%. You know what I mean? I've been, surprised that, this news came out today. Them becoming the chairman sort of means they're sort of taking a lot more of an active role in the club, you know what I mean? Because you can be the owner of a club and not really be that involved,
Yeah, put people in place to do.
Yeah, but chairman and co-chairman, all of a sudden now means that they're putting themselves out there. They're going to be very accountable, even though it's not like previous times when, they'd have to sit in front of fans and things like that. But they're taking on a lot more responsibility in the actual running of the club. Stan Kroenke being one of the co-chairs, does that mean we'll see him more? Because remember, we've always said over the years, and now still to this day, we don't hardly see this guy, you know what I mean? But I notice they're co-chairs, so, if he ain't around, he can say Josh is there representing, So I think it is quite significant in a way, because it does mean that they're taking a lot more responsibility, I mean, they'll be the guys overall kind of, when it comes to like transfers and that and spending, signing off those checks. I mean, I guess they do already, but
I know what you mean. It's hard to understand fully where the kind of final say has changed from here to there, wherever. Let's read you the statement. Maybe this will give a little bit of clarity for all you listening, even for me, to be honest. I mean, here's the headline. We are pleased to announce Stan Kroenke and Josh Kroenke have become our co-chairs, whilst Tim Lewis becomes our executive vice chair. The appointments are a recognition of how our leadership structure has evolved over the past several seasons since Kroenke Sports and Entertainment, I was right, Kroenke Sports and Entertainment assumed 100% ownership of Arsenal Football Club in 2018. Stan, Josh and Tim have worked together to drive our club forward, and their appointments bring clarity to our structure that reflect their roles and responsibilities and will ensure we continue in our pursuit of progress and success. Here's the statement from Mr. Stan himself. This is a simple evolution as part of us all driving Arsenal forward and further reaffirms our family's long-standing commitment to this great club. Stability in football has never been more important as we move past the pandemic, and we believe this is the perfect time to formalise these roles. Our objectives and ambition will never waver to field teams that compete for trophies at the highest level and lead our club in a way that inspires our passionate supporters around the world. Supported by our director Phil Harris, and together with our executive team and all our wonderful people, we have an incredible opportunity to build on the values and traditions of Arsenal Football Club. Now, just before I get your thoughts on that statement, there's this bit here, two things he says. This is a simple evolution, I've highlighted, and another, he says, perfect time to formalise these roles. It sounds like he himself is sort of almost quite humbly saying, like, look, it's not that big a deal.
You're already doing it.
Yeah, essentially.
Yeah.
We're just making it official, but we've been doing all this stuff anyway.
Yeah, but being the chairman now, the expectations of, like I said, those little things that I said, like, actually seeing you and, you being at the forefront of, decisions visibly, and that comes into it. I mean, if we think about like previous chairmans, Sir Chips, you had also, of course, the most famous of all of them, David Dean. Who was actually he was the similar role to what
he was vice
Lewis
chairman, I believe.
because he was the vice chairman.
Exactly it, yeah.
He was the vice chairman, but he was the guy always right up front. He was the guy that did all the interviews. He was the guy that relayed all the stuff that was happening onto everybody. I guess that will be Josh now, won't it? That'll be Josh Kroenke doing all that. So effectively, I think what they're saying, they've been doing a load of that job already, but now we're just making it official that we're going to be doing that. And yeah, I think, what's sort of funny to me is that, like, is what you said there, had this statement to come out a couple of years ago, there'd probably be protests getting ready now to be had and stuff like that. But it's come out and it's not really been met with much, complaints from the fans, because, the team's doing well. We're top of the league. I think the fans have fallen in love with the team again, They're loving what's happening on the pitch. We've been very happy with the new, I saw Edu on Monday night and I had to say to him, well done for Trossard, well done for the decisions you've been making on the signing. So in general, fans have been happy with the signings. And just in general, there's nothing really at the moment to moan about. So, but I don't know, it's really interesting to get the views of the fans and see what they feel about this news. Is it just them confirming what they're already doing already? Or are you still, because I still see some people in there saying, no, still Kroenke out.
Some people are calling us puppets. Never thought that would be.
Oh, yeah, puppets, bloody hell, right? Listen, for me, it's a thing like this. I'm a person, I just try to be honest, right? With the Kroenkes, for me, this is my opinion. They've been involved in Arsenal for a very long time. I can't remember the exact year when they first got involved, but they've been involved in Arsenal for a very long time. For most of the period of the time in which they've been involved, the club has been in a decline. We used to win titles. We used to compete for, like how you see us competing this season, we used to do that every year. We moved to the new stadium. Shortly after moving to the new stadium, they became involved. Then they became the majority shareholders. And during that period, we've been unsuccessful. A couple of FA Cups. We weren't even getting into, the Champions League no more. And all that was under their watch. The Super League debacle was under their watch as well.
That was a bad moment for them.
That was a terrible moment. And, there was a lot of things that were under their watch that, we as fans quite rightly were very angry about and complained about. And then we look to it and say, where is Stan Kroenke? Silent Stan, as we call him. Where is Stan in all this? How comes we never hear from you? Why don't you come and explain to us, the reason why you've made some of these decisions, the reason why, you're not coming to address these things.
The reason why we weren't seeing you in the stadium. The reason why...
I think the biggest question that was always during that time, the question that I really wanted to ask was, do you really care? Because it didn't seem like you cared, right? You was just doing everything from a distance. It just seemed like, Arsenal was just an asset of yours in your KSE portfolio and you didn't care. Since they've taken over in 2018, I have to say, and I don't know if any other fan out there disagrees with me, please tell me, I have seen a difference. Right? They've started to spend more money that didn't seem to be available in previous times. Remember, all we were doing was selling our best players. But all of a sudden, we started to spend more money. We started to see not Stan, but Josh more visible and more upfront and discussing and talking about things. Not enough. I want to see more, but we started to see more of that. They brought in Mikel Arteta. Things weren't really, going brilliantly, but they stuck by him and they said, no, this is our man. They backed him. They gave him funds to spend. And the team has started to improve. We saw an improvement in the team last year. We were challenging for the top 4, something that we haven't been doing for quite a while. And this season now, we're challenging to try and win a title. So that has all come since they have become 100% owners of the football club. That is undeniable. We've seen a softening of fans' sort of anger towards them. It used to be literally, Kroenke out used to be, something that if you asked any fan, you do very well a few years ago to find any fan at all, maybe apart from Julian, right, that had any sort of affection for the Kroenkes. And even now, even with these changes that I'm outlining, there's still a lot of fans that are still, you can see in the comments, some of them, that are still not convinced or still not, you know, saying that they're not happy.
Yeah.
But at the moment, I have to say, at the moment, they are running Arsenal like a proper football club. They are backing the manager.
Yeah, no. Absolutely.
They've put a structure in place that, you know, a lot of clubs are looking at and saying, hey, Arsenal's a well-run club now. Arsenal's doing, and that's all come since they've taken over 100%. So you've got to give them credit for that. You can't just turn around, and say, no, it's Kroenke out. All right, then you then have to say, you then have to give your reasons behind that. I fully understood that before because there were so many things that I was unhappy with and so many things for fans to be unhappy with. But I do feel that since they've taken over the full ownership of it, I have seen a difference.
The High Score sends a super chat. He's praising the Kroenke, saying that they trusted Arteta and gave him time. Come on, you Gunners. Eros says Stan Kroenke doesn't love Arsenal. He loves money.
Yep.
Designer Jack says, do you think we should sell loan Turner in the summer and buy a better backup to Ramsdale? I think we find better for next season. Your Designer, will save that for a little bit later because that's a good question actually. So I'll save this so we could discuss this a little bit later on the show.
There is another one. KSSMYW says Kroenke backed Arteta when most fans were screaming for him to go.
Yeah,
a manager with no experience, they saw something and showed loyalty. That alone should make people stop and think. This is the other thing that you've got to give them credit for, right? Is that Arteta was their man. When they bought in Mikel Arteta, I remember at the time, even me, I was surprised. I was like, Arteta, is this the guy right now? The mess we're in, is he the right guy right now? Yes, he's a young manager. I love to see young managers coming through. Yes, he's got bags of potential. Yes, he's worked under Pep Guardiola. But for our situation right now, is he the right manager? I remember, like, even fans being upset because, Everton
went for Ancelotti.
Bought in Ancelotti and we bought in Arteta. And people were like, how can Everton be getting Ancelotti? And now look how those two things have turned out. And again, that was them going with their decision, which wasn't just a popular decision that everybody was jumping up and down saying fantastic. And this worked. And then when he was going through rough times, and we could kind of clearly see it in that documentary, they stuck by him.
No, they didn't.
They didn't. You see in that documentary even Josh talking to him and saying, we're going to back you and stuff like that. They backed him over the Aubameyang thing. They've stuck with the guy. They've got behind him. Now they're achieving, we're achieving a successful season. You've got to say, that at the moment is looking like good ownership, good management of the situation. We just got to be real about it. I do hear what that person, but there was one person who you said they're all about money. That perception still remains. However, they're putting their money where their mouth is at the moment. That's just how I feel.
The funny thing is, right, and I want people to take this the right way. Obviously, I don't want them to be all about money. I want them to love the club. But if they are kind of all about money, well, the more success you have, the more revenue you generate. So that's not the worst thing. It's more that I didn't want us to be some forgotten project. I didn't want us to be, as you said,
that's how it felt.
That's how it felt. And it did. Now, when they came in 2018, we'll give you some figures in a second that highlights Arsenal's spending. I do think they tried to put money into the club, and I'll explain a little bit why. But the big thing for me that they really need to turn around, because I wasn't too focused on the KSE thing until the Super League. The Super League was, I think, when they learnt the very valuable lesson that there's a real heartbeat to these football clubs, and that heartbeat is the fans. It is the people that follow from all around the world, not just people who go to games, everyone everywhere. And, for decisions like that to be made about the club, by people away in a boardroom and the rest of the fan base not knowing, especially when it's something as divisive as that, really, really hurt. And then off the back of there being no communication and no kind of idea for the path that they were undertaking, whatever, I think that was very hard for fans to swallow. And at that point, I thought, there's no coming back from this. We need you to sell because you don't know what's best for our football club. Now, where I will give them credit massively is I think they took that situation, they learned from it. Josh fronted it up with the fans forum and spoke to a lot of fans and gave
They had no
some
choice.
insight. Well, of course they had no choice. Absolutely, they had no choice. But as bad as it got, they did what they had to do in that moment, bare minimum at least. And I think, and it's just a theory, this is not fact or anything, it's just my theory, they have very much said, Josh, you lead this. You know, there's so much on their portfolio. I don't think Stan's got a massive love for football or the Premier League or anything like that. Josh, he did an interview with Jeffries on Sky about 2-3 months after the start of last season, where he spoke about the team, he spoke about what they did in the transfer market. Edu's been doing more interviews. Arteta's always been very upfront. And I think they've come together as a collective, and that's what came out in All or Nothing for me, was actually how they worked together. When the Aubameyang thing happened in January, Vinay there as well, Tim Lewis. Who's the other guy as well? Richard Garlick. And I think there's a real core there, and I think they've worked hard to build that and go, we're gonna die on this hill. You know, we're gonna actually give this project what it needs. And if it works, great. And if it doesn't, at least we gave it everything. And I think you see that in the way they backed Mikel Arteta recently, not just in the transfer market, but by sticking by him when things went really wrong.
I'm just looking at this comment here.
What are they saying?
Rodney Francois says, "How much do they pay you, Mr. Lyle?" Oh, gosh, I wish I got paid. Like I pay for my tickets. I pay for everything when it comes to Arsenal. Even this top I got on, I paid for it. Everything, right? I'm giving my honest opinion of things, right? I'm not this type of guy, right, that says something and then my mind can't be changed. You know what? 3 years ago, I said Kroenke out, so now I have to stick to that no matter what. I am being honest in what I am seeing. What I'm seeing in front of me is different to what I was seeing before. Before, you asked me this 3 years ago.
Yeah.
Get them out, man. Get them out. I did not think these guys were interested in my football club that I love. I didn't think these guys loved this football club. I thought, like what a guy said before, that all they were interested in was the bottom line, right? They still may be interested in the bottom line. There's a load of owners that what they're interested in is the bottom line. But I have seen an improvement. One of the things I wanted to see from Arsenal is I wanted to see this club challenging again. It's challenging again. I wanted to see us spending money. We never seem to spend any money. Like, how much? 20 million? Oh, no. All of a sudden, we've been spending money. £50 million on Ben White. We spent £40 million on Jesus. You know, we were looking to spend 80 million in January on Mudryk. When have you ever seen that? We were looking to buy Caicedo, right? You know what I mean? There's talks of, in the summer, us going after Declan Rice. All of a sudden, those are the sort of things I'm looking at and saying, right, all of a sudden, this is the Arsenal that I've been wanting to see for years. Now, if you say they've taken a long time to get to this situation, I agree with you.
Yeah.
I agree with you. Why has it taken so long? Now, there's the theory that was given to me one time by Julian, and, you know, he doesn't always chat. He doesn't always chat sense. If you listen to that,
if you're watching this,
but this one sort of made sense from a business point of view, right? And I know this is, again, we don't really like to hear this sort of stuff because we are dealing with Arsenal Football Club, the club that we love. But these are businessmen that do own these football clubs, yeah. And what Julian was saying is that basically, because they were in partnership, you know, which they were, they're the majority shareholders, and the other shareholder was Usmanov, right? They obviously didn't like Usmanov. That's well, you know, it's common knowledge now that they didn't get on with Usmanov, and they did not want to sort of share things with Usmanov. So they weren't spending the big money and stuff like that because they just didn't want to spend out all their money whilst he was still around. Now, the ones that are affected by things like that are us, the fans. But now that Usmanov is gone and they do have 100% ownership of the club, you've got to give them credit at the moment for what they're doing, because we're challenged with what we wanted. We wanted a team that we could love. A team that we could love again. I've got a team that we can love again. That's how I feel. I love this team at the moment. Right? We wanted a manager we could get behind. We've got a manager we could get behind. And we wanted to see us challenging, right, in the Premier League. We're challenging in the Premier League. And on top of that, we're starting to spend money and operate like a big club. This, look at the team at the moment, right? It's no coincidence. Listen, it's got to be managed right, and Arteta's done a brilliant job. No denying that. He's done an unbelievable job. But also, that job wouldn't have been made that easy if he don't have the players. And he's been, when I was looking, when I compare like the team, to 2 years ago, and you look at some of the quality that he's been able to bring in, like Ben White, like Tomiyasu, like, Thomas Partey, like, who else? Gabriel. Odegaard.
Yeah.
He's got quality players now. He's been able to bring in quality, right? And if you can bring in quality, you've got better players. You get a better team, So
I agree, and I also
Jesus, Zinchenko. You know what I mean?
I want to make sure of two things. Firstly, that people understand that maybe you, but I'm certainly not putting forward the idea that everything was great at Arsenal. Well done, Kroenkes, you fixed everything. I think Mikel Arteta has been massive, and I think has been the driving force. I wouldn't be surprised if there was a certain demand he had from the owners before he took the job, which is, look,
but they backed him.
They backed him, and he backed them as well, in fairness, because he left Man City. And obviously it's a massive job, Arsenal. He probably would have taken it anyway. But my point is, I imagine there would have been a certain, if you want me to achieve this, then I need certain resources. And he has said from day one, I've got the full backing of the owners. Even when it wasn't popular to say that, he was saying, no, I've got the full support. I'm very comfortable with that. And the other thing, people like Edu have come in. I remember he did something. I think he stripped the scouting department or he did something that was met with a lot of questions. Whoa, what's going on here? I remember some really kind of top scouts, I think, were let go, and they made changes. But you look now 3 years down the line, Arsenal seem to really be benefiting. We've got a plethora of youngsters coming through, young players that even in the academy people are talking about. We're scared, we're terrified of losing a 15-year-old. That's how good some of these players are that we're talking about. And of course, Arteta, you can't play down the job he's done. But the other thing I'd say about the Kroenkes is, it's not, Arsenal aren't a 3-4 year project. Arsenal are a club that's existed since 1886, and there is a history and a tradition to honour, and there is also a future to build for. And what we don't want is Arsenal don't have to win the league every year, and we don't even have to compete every year, because no club has any divine right to do that. But we want to always feel like the club is giving its absolute best on the pitch, supporting the people in their roles, doing right by the community and the Arsenal fan base. And I think in a lot of ways we can be really proud of the football club we have at the moment. And you've got to give credit, I think, upstairs for that.
Yep. Some more comments there. Breno says, Robbie, don't answer to these dumb people, my guy. Listen, listen, everybody's entitled to their opinion. I respect everybody's opinion. I respect everybody's opinion on this, right? And I fully understand why there's a lot of people who will stick to what they're saying, but for me, I just feel that I have seen an improvement. Julius Caesar says the Glazers' ownership strategy is totally different to the Kroenkes. Listen, they're much better than what I've seen with these Glazers. Baylor says one thing you can't say about the Kroenkes is that they aren't winners. They spent so much money when they saw that they had a chance to win the Super Bowl with the Rams. Kenna says, remember when we said that the Centurions B team would win the league? Credit to Edu and the Kroenkes for putting that to the test with a manager and a player. Is this one says, I live in the States. This is Philip S. Mark, and he says, I live in the States. He overspent and won a Super Bowl with the Rams. He had the Nuggets in the NBA. Believe in him now. He wants to win.
Yeah,
he wants to win
as well.
Fabio Vieira, 35 million, says Cans as well. It's this guy here says Kroenke. Oh, I lost the. Oh yeah, here's Hernell says Kroenke's out always. Kroenke's out always. We need Qatari owners. So you're just thinking about the big money coming in, but they are spending. That's what I'm.
So
they are spending. I don't.
We've got some numbers that I haven't even showed you, Robbie, yet. Let's have a little look at just Arsenal's money spent.
Arsenal's what? Sorry.
The money spent by Arsenal since the 2018-19 season. I believe we're going to get it up on screen.
Was that when they took over?
So actually, I just had a look. I think it was 26th of September. So in fairness, that would have been the sum would have just gone. But that 2018-19 season, we spent 80 million. Are we going to be able to get it on screen? We should be able to. I'll read it out in the meantime. 80 million pounds spent 18-19. In the 1920 season, 160 million. This all comes from Transfermarkt, by the way.
Yeah.
2021 season, 86 million. 21-22 season, 167 million pounds spent, and then in the 22-23 season, the summer just gone, 192 million spent. Apparently that includes, of course, the Jorginho, Kivior and Trossard deals. It is. Now when you look at that spend compared to the rest of the big six since that summer of 2018, only Man United and Man City have spent more than us. We spent around 600 million. Man United around... that's a lie. Sorry. Arsenal 600 million. United near 700. Man City 618 million. Chelsea 1.2 billion. Tottenham and Liverpool around the 450 million mark.
And do you know what as well?
So we've been very competitive in that market.
Yeah, and do you know the other thing that's been quite impressive about that spending is the fact that we didn't have nothing to sell. A lot of them clubs like Man City, Man City had a lot of things to sell, right? So it'd be very interesting to see what the net spend is, because remember, we were having to pay players to leave.
Yep.
We had to pay Aubameyang to leave. We had to pay Ozil to leave. There was players like...
You're right, that's not included in the money spent.
Yeah.
What they've had to just write off.
Yeah, that's what makes it more impressive, because we've literally... When was the last time we had a player? We've got that now. We've got players now that are worth something. I mean, we've got assets now. I mean, there's been rumours flying around, over the past couple of weeks about Kieran Tierney maybe going in the summer, And when you read some of those rumours, some of the rumours say, well, Arsenal say if we're selling him, we want 35 million. That's if we sell him at all. We got assets. Over the past few years, it's been literally, we're like, yeah, you can have him as long as you take his wages on. And then teams have been like, well, actually, how much is he on wages a week? Nah, no chance. We're not touching that. So, they have put their money where their mouth is over the past few years.
This comment makes me laugh, because Trusay says they're spending zero. It's all Arsenal's money generated under a self-sustaining model. But what I want to say to Trusay there is, respectfully, I don't care. I don't care if it's theirs, if it's generated by the club, as long as the club is healthy. And people underplay the importance of that. No, I want the club to be... I've seen big clubs have collapsed, right? And I understand we're in a different era now and all that, but I want the club to be healthy and I want it to be seriously competitive.
It's not just about spending. It's not just the be-all and end-all. Look at Everton.
Of course. No,
Everton,
of course.
They've come in, then their owners spent, on transfers, £500 million. They're fighting relegation, and they've got players that just because there's been no planning gone into it.
There's been no thought into it.
Yeah, you know what I mean. So
look at Chelsea.
It's not exactly. It's not just about how much money you spend. It's who you buy. It's how you do it. You know what I mean. And they are doing it a lot better. We can't write off the past, though. That's what I say, because they were involved in that too.
Right, and that's where I wanted to swing this back round, Robbie.
Just do the super chat here. Adil says, today things are brighter, the wage bill lowered and big investments were done. Now we need trophies, European participation and revenue growth strategy. And obviously, what ultimately we judge these people off of is, what do they win?
Well, of course. Yeah. Have you got one more super chat there, or no?
Hold on, there was one more that just disappeared from me. Go ahead, go and see.
What I wanted to say was, obviously, we've been praising of the work they've done, and rightly so.
In the last few years,
yes. But there's a bigger picture, which is there was a long period at which you were majority owner. I think I just looked it up. It was 2011, and the club didn't go in the right direction. Yes, we won FA Cups, but we weren't going in the right direction for a long time. And even in the time that they've been full owners, there will be other questions about certain people that were recruited, about maybe the Unai Emery's time, about the Super League situation. So that's not to say everything's been everything's been from 2018. It's been up. Everything's fantastic. The project, as Arteta predicted, in fairness to him, has gone bang this season, really. Now, you know, it's about Arsenal. It's about this not being a one-off. You know, next year, I'm not saying next year we have to be on course for 99 points again. That's not what anyone's saying. But are you still going to be competitive? Are you going to bring us in players that want to play for this football club? You look at Zinchenko. You know, he arrived and within a month he turned his home gym, you know, with the wallpaper into the Emirates Stadium, and Jesus saying how much he loves to play for this club. All these things are really important, and it's about trying to prolong that. And yeah, as someone put in a comment, safeguard the future of the club, which apparently in another video has been explained how they're doing it. So, you know, I am very happy with what they're doing right now.
At this moment in time, and it's a trust factor as well. It's a trust factor because the thing is, right, is that they've been involved in some horrible moments for this club as well, right? So they need to earn, the Kroenkes need to earn the trust of the fans, because every time that name Kroenke is mentioned, there are a lot of fans that are just like, what? Oh, I don't know. Even when we're explaining that they have done some good things, there are still a lot of fans, and I understand it, there's still a lot of fans that are just, you know, I don't know, man. Because there's a trust issue. They did want to do the whole Super League thing. They have been up top there for many years when we've been in the absolute doldrums. We've not been spending money. They didn't give no money to Wenger why didn't they give this money to Wenger that they're giving to Arteta? A lot of fans will say, you know what I mean? Now, as I said, I think a lot of that was to do with the fact that Usmanov was there and they just did not want to spend whilst he was there. They've kind of almost said that, haven't they? Because since they've taken control, they've said, right, now that we've got 100% control, you're going to see a difference. We are seeing a difference. There's no denying that. There is no denying that.
Yeah, I'd be very, no, I said I'd be very interested. I'd be very uninterested. I don't want to know what the Kroenke's performance would be like without Mikel Arteta. You know, if Arteta were to say, thank you, it's been great, I'm off to Barcelona, you know, what's their next plan, you know, with their do to bring in the next guy, to keep the momentum moving. All that will be a part of how we judge them going forward.
What I would also say, though, right, is, and I saw a guy earlier on in the comment section, he said it's got nothing to do with him, it's all down to Arteta.
Well, I think Arteta's the majority of the reason why we're having the success.
But who bought in Arteta?
No, of course,
They bought in Arteta. And when a lot of people were calling for Arteta's head and saying, this guy is not experienced enough, they stuck by Arteta, right? So they have to take credit for Arteta, right? They have to take credit for Arteta because, as I said, when they brought in Arteta, I've personally thought to myself that he's not experienced enough for the job at hand because we were in such a mess. That's their decision. Remember, they sent cars up in the middle of the night up to Manchester to bring him, right? It's their decision. So we have to, it's just like if they bring in someone and it goes horribly wrong, we'll be pointing the fingers at them and saying, yo, what's this? It was your guys' decision to bring this guy and he's totally messed up. We have to give, you can't just say it's all Arteta. It's a combination of them at the moment and Arteta because they brought him in, they believed in him, and they've backed him.
Yeah, Aston with a super chat says, if you hold any opinion, you have to know what it would take for you to change it. The Kroenkes are walking that road. It's time to recognise. Still a way to go, but at least we're on track. Big up you two. See you at the parade.
I want to be at that parade. It'd be very interesting. You know what would be very interesting, right, is that if, you know, as we kept being told, as we kept the word we used in Qatar, inshallah, right, if Arsenal were to win the league, right? And Stan Kroenke was at that parade, right? He's on the Islington Town Hall on those steps, you know, on the balcony there. What sort of reception would he get? That'd be really interesting. I think Josh Kroenke would get a good reception. And it's very interesting that, like, their co-chairman, their co-chairman, right? Because I still think Stan Kroenke knows that his name's a bit raw with the fans, even though fans are sort of like, all right,
I don't think
doing
it's
a good job. But there's still this little thing with fans that they're like, when they see him, they're still like. But I think with Josh, he's that buffer. He's that guy that's come in that where the fans kind of look at him and say, yeah, actually, I kind of warm to him a bit more. I'm still not sure with Stan Kroenke that fans warm to him, even though.
I don't think it's just that. I think it's just that Josh is doing the heavy lifting. With all due respect, listen, I don't know.
But we don't know.
We have no idea, but I just, like I said, it's my theory.
We honestly don't know,
I feel
right?
like Josh basically is the owner of the club, but I mean, what do I know?
Listen, it could be that he's making all the big decisions and he's just got his son, because he knows that his son is more accepted amongst Arsenal fans. He just says to his son, right, I'll push you up front. You still, you still got the family name. I'll push you up front. You take the credit. But he could be the guy behind the scenes making all the decisions. We don't know. But it's interesting that he's He's not said it, because to me, then why not just make Josh Kroenke the chairman? Because you're still the owner, still KSC's. But he's put his name to it. He's put his name on there. That's almost like he's sort of easing back a little bit. He's sort of like, I know my name. If I just said Stan Kroenke, because would that have made it? If it
I don't know. I don't know how any of this stuff.
If it had been Stan Kroenke, the chairman, if he would have come out and said, right, the new chairman is Stan Kroenke, there'd be a bit more people saying, I don't know, man. But having that thing, I don't know. This is a bit of a,
but then I think
it's a bit of a strategic move in that he's just sort of easing his way back in.
But I must say, and I must, admit to everyone, I have no idea what I'm talking about when it comes to this kind of thing. But, for the sake of theory and having some fun with it, I think it'd be almost weirder if they said Josh as chairman and then Stan's name wasn't even attached to that. So I feel like they're easing in the
idea. Though, isn't he?
Yeah, no. So Stan would be owner, Josh would be chairman. I think they're easing in the idea that I do see what you're saying now.
He didn't need to put his name. He's still the owner. He's still synonymous with the football club. Everyone knows that KSE is him, right? I don't know. I think sorry, this comment here, London Nomad says, time for Stan the man to put Todd the Cod in his place. Todd the Cod. But and the other thing is, and I think a couple of fans sort of spoke about it earlier. One of the things that are always, and he always used to be criticised for as well, it's like, your clubs, they're all mediocre. I remember doing an interview with Tim Payton from the AST, and that's what Tim was pointing out, that fact. This is quite a few years ago, probably about 5 years ago, and Tim was pointing out the fact that, Robbie, if you look at all the clubs he owns, they're all mediocre clubs over there in America. None of them have ever won anything. They're just all, they just all sort of totter along, you know what I mean? Like, they're not run badly, but they're not run, they're not built to win. Basically was the accusation was. And I remember another time I was over in America and I was speaking to an American fan, and he said to me, he goes, Robbie, do you know what the most successful club is in the KSE, collection and franchise, whatever you want to call it? And I said, no, what, Rams or which club is this? This is about 5-6 years ago. And he said, Arsenal. And I said, Arsenal? And he goes, yeah, that's the most successful club of all the clubs he's got at the moment is Arsenal. I nearly fell over. And then when I thought about it, it's like, yeah, it's true, because the other clubs ain't won nothing, but Arsenal have won a few FA Cups. But since that, in recent years, he's turned that around as well, because the LA Rams won the Super Bowl. They got to a final of a Super Bowl, didn't quite win it, challenging. Then they won the Super Bowl. I can't remember the name of his ice hockey team, but they won the Stanley Cup. Again, that's the biggest prize in ice hockey. The Denver Nuggets. Is
that what I just saw? Yeah, about an NBA team. Yeah,
the Denver Nuggets NBA team. I think they won their division, or they're always challenging at the top end of their division now.
Okay, good.
So he's all of a sudden, some of his clubs in America are all of a sudden that accusation can't be leveled at him no more either.
Aston says another super chat.
James, sorry. Sorry.
No, go on.
No, James B fans says Turkish must be crying to see Kroenke. Well, I can tell you with Turkish, even with Turkish, the jury's still out.
Yeah, of course.
And
I think that's still true. Just because we're giving them a lot of praise.
Still out. Yeah, the jury's still out.
Them a lot of praise today for what they have done. It's still out. It's still out. There was a lot of bad, and now there's a lot of good.
It's a trust issue With me, it's a trust issue. I still there's a lot of things that have happened over the years that are still. I'm giving you credit for what you are doing now. I'm giving you full credit, because you deserve credit. Can't just, as I said, you can't just totter along and say, I hate the Kroenkes. Kroenke's out, and just keep saying that. They're here. At the moment, they're doing a good job. You have to admit it with what we're seeing on the, because I judge it from what I see on the pitch. Arsenal Football Club are challenging. Arsenal Football Club look like a club that are back. If you're a top footballer around Europe right now, Arsenal Football Club all of a sudden looks like an exciting place to be. You go to the Emirates Stadium, the place is bouncing, it's rocking. We've got a great manager, right, that we all believe in and all want to get behind. So at the moment, they're doing a good job. I
agree.
Can't, but due to the facts of what's gone on in the past, there's still some trust issues.
I hear that. Let's move the conversation on a little bit. Aston with another super chat. How are you, Aston, by the way? It's good to hear from you.
Big Aston.
We talk about our future. What about everyone else's? Where do you see each of the big 6 teams, plus Brighton, Newcastle next year? I mean, very quickly, I see Man United improving. I think Ten Hag is on the right track. I expect City to constantly be up there. With Tottenham, it really just depends on Kane and Conte and what they do there. It's so difficult to predict. I know I've got that feeling that they're at the end of the cycle that started with the Poch and basically the Harry Kane cycle. But again, we will see. Chelsea, I think they'll throw enough money at it that they're always competitive. What competitive looks like? Will they win a league? I don't know if the structure or everything's there in terms of the right manager and other players, but we'll see.
I'll tell you what.
They've got very good players.
Great question there by
Liverpool.
Aston.
I think will be back.
Yeah, by Aston, right? Because one of the things that's been, I don't know if other Arsenal fans have been hearing this, right? This has been annoying me a bit, right? Is that every time people are talking about Arsenal, they're saying things like, "Oh well, if you don't do it this year, because you better do it this year because no one else is," almost as if to say that Arsenal are at the top of the league this year by default because all the other teams have fallen away. So Arsenal have been able to sort of sneak in and do a bit of a Leicester. I'm sorry, Arsenal Football Club right now are the best football team in this league, right?
Yeah.
We are the best. And last year, we were being told this. We were being told that, I remember being on the overlap and Gary Neville saying to me, Robbie, Arsenal will just, you had your chance of getting the top 4 last year. How are you going to do it next year? How are you going to get in there next year? You know what I mean? You've got killers, he said, in Pep Guardiola and Klopp. Arsenal can get nowhere near them. They're killers. I remember the show specifically. And then he said, he goes, United are going to spend big and they're bringing in Ten Hag. Chelsea, you know what I mean? They had the whole under sanctions with Abramovich, but that's gone now, so they're going to spend big money. How are Arsenal? Tottenham, he goes, have got Conte. How are Arsenal going to get in the top 4? That's what he said. Now we've been top of the league for nearly all the season. We've been playing the best football, right? So I don't like this narrative we keep hearing all the time, like as if to say every other team's just become crap overnight, and this is Arsenal's big attempt to get in and maybe win the league, and if we don't, it will never happen again. I personally think that Arsenal will be challenging again next season.
That's
not
what
saying,
I think too.
Listen, we ain't won nothing yet, and I'd love us to win it this year. But I think if we win it this year, I think we'll be challenging against next season. The way we play, the manager, the connection with the fans, everything's moving in the right direction. You go out there in the summer, especially if we was to win the league, and add some more star quality, and you haven't got to add a lot to that.
No, 2-3
It's not about buying a gazillion names, as we've seen with Chelsea. You add 2-3 top quality players. You go and get a Declan Rice. You go and get maybe a real top class striker, maybe another sort of defensive midfielder, or another midfield player. honestly, why wouldn't we be back up there challenging again next year? And you are right. All those teams that you just described, they are all improving. They will all probably improve next year, but so will we.
But there's always one as well. There's always one, if not two, that has a year you don't expect. No one expected Liverpool to have the season they're having.
No, we didn't expect Liverpool to have that. But now everybody's saying, "Oh, well, they've reached the end of the cycle, and maybe they should have refreshed earlier. And maybe they should have done."
Do you remember when Liverpool won their first title for 30 years? And everyone kept saying, they just lost out. They think they got to 98 points or 97, and Man City won it on 98 or something ridiculous. And Liverpool kept, people would have said, again, all the money, you just can't. You've taken them so far, and you still couldn't get over the line. But what happens? Not only did they win it the year after with 99 points, which beat City's tally the year before, they didn't even need to get to that because actually City had an off year. They finished on like 84, 85 points. So every team, whether it's once every few years or once every 4 or 5, whatever it might be, will have an off year, and a gap will open. Opportunities are there. Who would have thought that Brighton would be knocking on the door for top 4? But they are, because they've taken advantage of the fact that Chelsea and Liverpool really aren't putting the pressure on Tottenham they should be for that spot.
But then I've got also another theory, James, as well, right? Is that there's so many more better teams in the Premier League now than there used to be.
De Bruyne said that.
Kevin De Bruyne did say that the other day, and he was spot on with what he said, right? Because
I'm glad he said that.
You look at teams, Brighton have got. I mean, look how many teams, including us, have gone in to raid their players because they're so good. Look how good Ben White is. He came from Brighton. You know what I mean?
So did Trossard.
He came from Brighton.
And we wanted Caicedo.
We wanted Caicedo from Brighton. Liverpool over the years have raided loads of Brighton players. Chelsea took Brighton's manager, took Brighton's backroom staff, and also took Brighton players in Cucurella, right? That just goes to show you, even at the moment with Brighton, you know what I mean? They've got Caicedo, brilliant player, right? McAllister, World Cup winner, played in every single game for Argentina in the World Cup, was one of their main players, right? He plays for Brighton.
Yeah.
These teams are better now. I look at Fulham, right? And you look at like a Paulinho in the midfield. Every team now at the moment is looking to sign him, right? You look at teams like Brentford or Ivan Toney. Were you telling me that Arsenal wouldn't have Ivan Toney if he was available, or many other top teams are around? You know what I mean? These teams now, there's so many good teams.
Yeah.
Every single team is stacked with internationals. Even if you go down to the bottom of the table and you look at a team like Southampton, stacked with internationals. James Ward-Prowse, right, he's just about to break the record for the most, set pieces ever scored in the Premier League, surpassing Beckham, right? Unbelievable on free kicks and set pieces. Plays for Southampton, they're bottom of the league, right? Lopetegui, who came in, who's managed Real Madrid, who's managed the Spanish national team, came in a few months ago and took over Wolves when they were bottom of the table. Right, this is the Premier League now. The Premier League, the competition in the Premier League is way better. This is why you're seeing so many teams drop points to teams that you would assume. At the weekend, the game against Palace, everyone's expecting, to be light work for Man City. They need a penalty to get over the line in that game, right? You know what I mean? Then during the week, they go and beat, RB Leipzig 7-0. So honestly, the quality of teams in the Premier League now, they are very, very good. Like every team has got top quality players, and you don't turn up on any given day.
Yeah,
it's curtains.
I agree, and that's why when it goes back to the ownership discussion, the structure you have in place, the people, the decisions they make are more important than ever before. So the credit is absolutely well earned. Let's for the last 5 minutes just go through some other headlines. Eddie Nketiah, again, he's not been in training. We know that he's been doing some light gym work. I think he posted on his story that he's getting back in that sense, but it's a weird one, isn't it? Because it's kind of come out of the blue, the injury. We didn't really know anything about it. Played at Villa, then I don't think we saw him he came on against Leicester, but he was carrying something. Came on against Everton, but he was carrying something. Then ends up not playing our last 2 league games, which were Bournemouth and Forest.
Apparently been carrying injury for quite a few weeks, they're saying.
Yeah.
Listen, we'd love to see him back. The rumours are he'll be back after the international break. Gives him extended time to get himself fit and be back. And You know, we need him. We need Eddie from that.
He played a serious shift.
Yeah. We need everybody right back in that squad, because I just feel that if we've got a fit squad and we don't really get no more major injuries between now and the end of the season, I think we've got enough to do it.
Agreed.
Right? So Eddie's been an important part of what we've done this season. Let's not forget that. When he came in, scored some important goals, led the line brilliantly, right? That we wasn't really missing Jesus.
No.
Right? So we've got to give him full credit, and I hope he can be back and contribute between now and the end of the season. He would have been, I'm sure if he was fit, he'd be a shoo-in to have started in the Sporting game.
Yeah,
you know.
He would have.
So yeah, let's hope that Eddie can get back soon.
Yeah, I agree. Wishing Eddie well. Hope he's back soon. Final. This is apparently the rumours are, and it is rumours, everyone, that Arsenal might be travelling to LA for pre-season.
LA?
Yeah. Los Angeles.
Love a bit of LA.
Off to the West Coast. So the Athletic reported in October 2022 that there are plans to hold an enhanced pre-season tournament in the US as part of a roadmap to hold competitive matches in strategic markets.
The Kroenkes stock's going to go right back down again.
After everything we were just saying. Look, I don't know. By the way, I don't know if that's Arsenal specific. This might be. I don't think it is. I think it's a separate thing.
I've said this a long time, right? It's going to happen one day.
What competitive matches?
There's going to be competitive games abroad. I don't know who's going to be.
We discussed this. Remember the Super League Live we did it, and we said, I don't know, but I don't hate the idea. There are fans around the world. I don't hate the idea of competitive matches abroad. I don't like the idea of the Premier League and
it depends what that competitive game is.
Exactly, you'd have to almost invent
Premier League. No,
you'd have to almost invent a new tournament, because I don't think you could dig up what we have and just take it around the world because of how
could you play the League Cup?
Well, yeah, we touched on that. I mean,
around the, I don't know, but I don't know. It's a difficult one, but I do feel that one day it will happen, just for the numbers involved financially. You know what I mean? And you're seeing the NBA do it very successfully. You're seeing the NFL do it very successfully.
But they might have to do it as part of the off season, like a competition either before the
maybe
season or at the end. You know, remember the Club World Cup that they?
Yeah, maybe.
If it weren't for the pandemic, they'd have had that. And I think that was going to be a 24-team tournament rather than just the 4 teams. And I think Arsenal would have played in a few of those because they finished 5th at times. Now that is almost like that's a whole World Cup, only it's clubs, and that is a tournament that will take place over several weeks after a season. That might be quite heavy for teams.
Yeah. Well, you know, I think they're thinking of all different kind of ways now to put these tournaments together, because it is a global game. But, you know, for fans, you know, what happens to the fans in this country who follow Arsenal through thick and thin, week in, week out? What about them?
Could you foresee?
You know what I mean? What about if you turn around to them and say, we're away in LA next week? Sounds great for some people who can afford to get out of there. For other people who follow their club through thick and thin and can't get out to them places, you know what I mean? They're going to be very upset about it, and I fully understand that one as well. But the way football's going, the way economics and money is running football, you know, we've seen the Spanish teams do it a lot already. You know, they're desperate to try and compete with the Premier League. You know, if they start doing that, does that then mean that the Premier League are like, we're almost forced to follow suit, you know? And then where does it end? You know, you can see games, but I can see one day it happening. I can see games in America. I can see games in Saudi,
they were asked, Josh Kroenke was asked, you know, will there ever be, you know, I think it was specific to Premier League, but basically will there ever be Arsenal home games played abroad? And he said, I think he said no, but, you know, we'll see.
They know they'd love that. They know they'd love that.
Yeah, I mean, the 2023-24 Premier League season will begin on Saturday, the 12th of August. So interesting, that's when our defence of our title starts. So fair enough.
He's saying it already.
I'm just having fun, City fans. Don't get upset.
I don't know, man. After watching him last night, maybe we better...
Do you know how happy I was that I was in the Champions League?
Bloody hell.
You do your thing. Did you see my tweet before? At 8 p.m. on the dot, I tweeted, I want them to go through, but I want them to be made to work hard for it. I go off, I have my dinner.
He took Haaland off on 5 goals, man. If I was Haaland, I'd be upset, man. He could have scored about 10 yesterday. Honestly, he's some player, man.
Yeah,
Landon Lowe says, no one expected us to finish 8th when we did. I didn't hear people say that City and Liverpool were lucky because us and Manchester United were rubbish. That's very, very true. Very, very true. Well says. J Mon says, big up Robbie and James. Always enjoy the lives. Also, the tactical insight on here and DR Sports. Looking forward to this final stretch. The final stretch.
Final stretch.
Is
Get through this week. Then you got a week off to relax and enjoy a stress-free life, and everything's fine. And then the week after that,
yeah, and I think
we're into the final stretch.
Again, why? Just looking at that thing yesterday with Haaland, actually, just reminded me of something again that made me laugh, James, is that everyone's going, look how good Haaland is. Oh, he's amazing. Oh, Haaland, look how many goals he scored. He's been... But then we've been told this season when Arsenal play well, yeah, that's only called City and not the same City. But they've got a guy that is a goal machine up front. And we're still top of the league.
They probably have the greatest goal scorer in world football.
Not probably. They have the greatest goal scorer in world football right now.
There you go. I'm being kind.
And we're still top of the league. So give it credit. Give it credit.
Agreed.
Yeah.
Agreed. All right, we're going to end the show there. Just this super chat from designer Jack, where he did ask, by the way, whether we should sell or loan Matt Turner and get a better backup to Ramsdale. No, I don't. I'd keep Turner another year. He's doing. No, I agree. He's doing fine.
It's I think Matt Turner, fits the bill of what Arteta wants, a ball playing goalkeeper. He's a good shot stopper as well. I know he had a little bit of shaky time last week, but I think on the whole, this season he's not let Arsenal down.
No, I do think on the ball he can improve a little bit.
Yeah.
It's,
so it's hard when you're in and out, So
very true.
Yeah.
All right, we're going to leave it there. Hit the like button if you enjoyed this live. Of course, if you're only joining us for the end of it, you've only joined us for the last 5-10 minutes, you can always go back and watch the full show. We basically discussed the Kroenkes. Now that they are Stan and Josh, co-chair of Arsenal, with Tim Lewis become the vice chairman of Arsenal. How do we reflect on the last few years? How do we reflect on everything since the Super League? But also acknowledge what happened before then. Take it all into account. Where is credit due? We've given it where we believe it's due. What do you think? You can let us know in the comment section. Don't forget to check out all the preview content for Sporting. The game is on Thursday night. Of course, Box to Box is out. There is a preview coming out 8 p.m. tonight as well. And as you saw in the ads at the beginning of the show, Forever Arsenal and plenty of other shows looking ahead to that game. And if you're still enjoying the Fulham win, you can go enjoy that.
You can check me out tonight. I'm going to be over on DR Sports tonight doing the Liverpool Real Madrid game. I'm hosting that. So check out DR Sports, subscribe to that channel as well. That's a general football channel, always representing the Arsenal on there. So make sure you check it out.
There you go. Big thanks to everyone who joined us. Really enjoyed it. Many thanks, Robbie. Many thanks, production. Catch you on the next one.
Don't forget to check out the Bias Premier League show with myself, Robbie, and Ty, and
peace.
Where's Yardi?
Oh, he's not a great loss, man. He's a waste of space.
Is that how you carrying on?
Oh, he can't see me.
Yeah, well, Yardi will be here, so make sure you check it out. And I want you to tell him that to his face.
Tell him what? I didn't say no. Yardi's my best friend.
Trossard, because Trossard's offering a lot all round. He's not only a goal threat, but he can link up play well. He can find the final ball. He's efficient in the final third all round.
What are you laughing at?
Because Lee's taking the piss out of Jordan.
Lee's just being a child. James by now. He's just being a child. He's 74, but he's acting like a 17-year-old. He's just being a child. Just carry on. Ignore him. Don't give him attention.
What's up?
He's a prick. He's a prick.
This is what happens when you go put at midnight.
He's a prick. Absolute prick.
I say one guy sneezing, one blowing his nose.